6 years ago, Hillary Clinton was about to become Secretary of State. Barack Obama had nominated her. Everyone knew she was going to be confirmed by the Senate, going to be confirmed easily. But there was a thought, there was a question, there was a doubt out there about a potential conflict of interest.
The core of the problem is that foreign governments and entities may perceive the Clinton Foundation as a means to gain favor with the Secretary of State. Although neither Senator Clinton nor President Clinton has a personal financial stake in the foundation, obviously its work benefits their legacy and their public service priorities.
The foundation and the president-elect decided to go beyond what the law and the ethics rules call for to address even the appearance of conflict. And that is why they signed a memorandum of understanding, which outlines the voluntary steps that the foundation is taking to address potential concerns that might come up down the road.
Again, that was early 2009. It did not get much attention back then. There was the theoretical possibility of a conflict of interest, the idea that a foreign government or a foreign entity might give massively to the Clinton Foundation in the hopes of winning favor with Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. There was that theoretical possibility, and there was also Clinton's insistence that there wouldn't even be an appearance of any conflict. But today, that same issue suddenly got a lot of attention. The New York Times reporting that while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, her State Department and other agencies approved a deal allowing a Canadian mine company to sell its uranium business to the Russians. That same Canadian mining company, which again, it needed State Department approval for this deal, that same company also donated heavily to the Clinton Foundation. As the Times reports today, quote, Uranium One's chairman used his family foundation to make 4 donations totaling $2.35 million. Those contributions were not publicly disclosed by the Clintons, despite an agreement Mrs. Clinton had struck with the Obama White House to publicly identify all donors. Other people with ties to the company made donations as well. And also this from the Times, quote, shortly after the Russians announced their intention to acquire a majority stake in Uranium One, Mr. Clinton received $500,000 for a Moscow speech from a Russian investment bank with links to the Kremlin that was promoting Uranium One stock. Now, to be clear, this report does not conclusively establish any quid pro quo. There is no smoking gun here that shows Hillary Clinton taking official action as Secretary of State in response to those donations to the Clinton Foundation or to the payout her husband received for that speech. And the Clinton campaign, in an aggressive response today, points out that the State Department was just one of 9 agencies to approve the deal, and that, quote, Hillary Clinton herself did not participate in the review or direct the department to take any position on the sale of Uranium One. Clinton campaign spokesman also telling NBC News today, quote, no one has produced a shred of evidence that Hillary Clinton ever took action as Secretary of State in order to support the interests of donors to the Clinton Foundation. It's also worth noting that this New York Times story grows out of a new book called Clinton Cash, and that the author of that book, Peter Schweizer, is a conservative writer from a conservative research group whose leadership includes the same billionaire family bankrolling Ted Cruz's presidential campaign. This, in fact, is something the Clinton camp noted in the first sentence of their response today, that the Times was, quote, relying largely on research from the conservative author of Clinton Cash. It is also worth noting what else we learned today, though, that the same conservative author who is also writing a book scrutinizing Jeb Bush's financial history. That book will be released sometime this summer. And there was more news today, too, from the Washington Post about how Bill Clinton has received millions of dollars in speaking fees from companies and organizations that also donated heavily to the Clinton Foundation. In a report that the Clinton Foundation is in the process of reviewing its tax returns from 2010 to 2012, they're going to be refiling them to reflect the fact that some of the money they got in those years came from foreign governments. Today is not the first time that an issue like this has been raised. The press and Hillary's political enemies have been looking closely at the Clinton Foundation and its relationships with foreign governments for months now. As part of a deal Hillary Clinton made with the Obama administration when she became Secretary of State, the Clinton Foundation agreed to disclose all new foreign donations. But the latest reporting says the foundation did not always abide by those standards. For example, they reportedly failed to disclose an unsolicited donation made by the government of Algeria in 2010 to help with Haiti earthquake relief efforts. Hillary Clinton formally resigned from the foundation board the day she announced her candidacy this month. She has vowed to be more open about the foundation's finances. Just today, Chelsea Clinton, at a forum on women's rights, was asked about the foundation.
Why did the foundation in Saudi Arabia when they didn't treat women, as well as perhaps they could? And there's questions even this morning in the New York Times about money coming from Ukraine, and there's this perception that were favors done in exchange for funding. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
There are lots of questions in that. We have always partnered with governments, NGOs, foundations who believe the work we do is important. What the Clinton Foundation has said is that we will be even more transparent, even though Transparency International and others have said we're among the most transparent foundations. We'll disclose donors at a quarterly basis and not just an annual basis. I very much believe that that's the right policy, that we'll be even more transparent, that to eliminate any questions while we're in this time. We won't take new government funding, but that the work will continue as it is.
Now, again, there is no smoking gun in anything that we learned today. And the Clintons are adamant that there is no there there. And it really might be as simple as that. But there is the appearance of a conflict here, the possibility of a conflict. That's what the reporting shows today. And that's what Hillary said 6 years ago there wouldn't be. There are questions here. There are difficult questions here, murky questions here, but legitimate questions. Will the response